TOK Essay title number 3, May 2025. You know, I used to hate this one, but after making this video, I think it's actually a little bit easier than I thought. Let's get an A.
Get an A in TOK.
Okay, first of all, if you haven't seen my other videos, I don't know why you haven't, but you need to go in the description and download this entire document right now. You can click here, you can send me your essay, I'll help you out. I've got a bunch of packages. I'm actually going to start a brand new package for outlines where I'm going to make a video for you. That's going to be super popular. Check out my web store, but most importantly, you can download this guide, this PDF that I'm working on right now, all of my notes, all of my ideas. Pause the video. No, really, like pause the video, go to the description and download this document, go through it with me, or just take the document. I don't care, totally free. You don't have to sign up for anything. You can also go to getanantok.com/free stuff to get guides, examples, samples, and my website, blah, blah, blah. You don't care, you want free stuff. Okay, if you saw my how to pick a title video, I named this one the one that you don't want to do. And I gotta say, that was maybe a little bit quick of a judgment. How can we reconcile the relentless drive to pursue knowledge, keyword pursue, with finite resources that we have available, discussed with reference to natural sciences and one other A-OK. Here's what I said. Choose this if you have examples ready to go, because it is a little bit more specific. And then also if you can write concisely, because we're not just writing about examples, you also have to bring up what are the limiting finite resources. And then also watch my videos, because I'm going to give you a lot of stuff here. So, unlike my other videos, I did write some notes, some additional help for this one. So this video is going to be a little bit different. I really like talking about the sciences, and this example suggests that. Dealing with resources in math or arts, let me say, or history, I can't even spell history, good teacher, is going to be a little bit murkier. It could work for history, however, and it would have some of the same restraints and finite resources as the natural sciences. We'll get to that in a minute. But there are better examples to be found in the sciences, as the scope of knowledge produced and acquired, or what I'm talking about, pursuing, is it varies more in the two sciences. So I believe in this one, look at all my notes, guys, check this out. I'm only talking about the natural and the human sciences in here because it's so good for this one. Okay, so the next one is really important. The easiest finite resource is going to be money. Use this example, totally use this example, but top scores are not just going to have a variety of examples, they're going to have a variety of what we consider to be the finite resources. So be creative. You can talk about time as a resource, natural resources, which is obvious in natural sciences, goodwill, I'm going to get to that, goodwill, patience, that's a finite resource, and people, workers, scientists, that's a finite resource as well. So be creative in that. Okay, you do want to just do like one sentence about how it's a finite resource, unless we're talking about, something really obvious like money or, like lithium, for example, okay? You don't have to say lithium is a finite resource. No, we all know that. Your TOK examiner is not stupid, but you do need to justify your claim so that we know you're not stupid. Don't be stupid. That should be my new rule. TOK, get an A in TOK, don't be stupid. Okay, for each example, it needs to demonstrate a way that someone reconciled the drive. Okay, this is asking a very specific thing. How can we reconcile? So each example is, this person reconciled it by, and that's the example. For example, we reconciled the drive to pursue knowledge of how to solve the fossil fuel crisis by inventing a new technology to find more fossil fuels. And that's going to be one of my examples. So we have this problem. We're running out of fossil fuels. We don't know how to solve this problem. So the knowledge that we produce is a new technology for finding more fossil fuels. Yay, Earth. Pursue knowledge can be interpreted in many ways. It can connect to both knowledge production and acquisition. I think you should be pretty liberal with this phrase. I think because it shows pursue knowledge, it could be really anything dealing with knowledge. And then, as you'll see in my examples, and this is vital, it might not be good to reconcile this drive, and that can be one of your different perspectives. We used to call them counterclaims, now we're just calling them perspectives. So maybe we should not reconcile the drive. Is it drive? What's the word here? How can we reconcile? Yeah, the relentless drive. Let me change that word there. Okay, you ready for examples? I know you're ready for examples. Go into ethics on this when it's necessary. Okay, natural sciences, funding. So money as a finite resource. ARPA-E is a very successful way that the federal government decides how to fund programs and ideas that are not ready to be funded by the private sector. So basically, They're scientific ideas that are so, and this could be a bunch of different scientific things, by the way, that are so wild and so, unlikely that a financial guy trying to make cash is not going to take the risk. So the government's like, yeah, we've got so much money. We tax Patrick like crazy. Let's blow some money on this and see what happens. So this now receives bipartisan support because it is even though it's an expensive part of the government, it has become so successful that whether you're a conservative or a liberal, both people in America like this, which is really interesting. So one way of reconciling the demand is to have a government program. Winning the lottery. This is really interesting. So this article claims that instead of ARPA-E and other government programs, look at your government too, having people give proposals for scientific development to say, hey, give us $10 billion so we can do this, that instead all of these, nobody knows what's going to be successful, so we should just do a lottery system. Really interesting. I got some really good academic sources for this as well. Okay, one way to reconcile the drive for producing knowledge, but also limiting how much we spend, is we do it together. So one way to talk about the International Space Station is to say that when multiple countries collaborate, they share the cost. So again, finite amount of money. So what do? We share the cost with other people. Pretty simple. Do we have enough lithium? This was honestly probably the first thing that came to my mind because this is a natural finite resource. So as we run out of fossil fuels, do we have enough lithium? This is a controversial take. There are multiple different perspectives on this. You can read this article right here. What is this article? I've got so much resource for this. So yeah, does the world have enough lithium to move to electric vehicles? I think this one says yes, and it is free. Don't worry about that. And that will help you out thinking about the knowledge to produce, to solve a problem. How do we solve the transportation problem? We produce knowledge to solve this problem. This is one way. So fracking is the solution, at least to this title. And one way of reconciling the demand to invent new technologies is, one way of reconciling the demand is to invent new technologies. So fracking, totally controversial, terrible for the earth, especially in the middle of the United States like Oklahoma and Texas, but it does provide a response to this title. So what knowledge solves the problem of the finite amount of fossil fuels? We find new ways to create the fossil fuels with a new technology. So these could go really well together when we're talking about natural sciences because they're looking at the same issue, but with different perspectives. Is lithium just another finite resource that we're going to eventually run out of? If that's the case, then why will we make batteries in cars? It's just good. We're going to run into the same problem. So really cool ideas here. I found so many great ideas for this. I love this. Okay, saving virtual lives to save real ones. Instead of creating real drugs, the pharmaceutical industry can create test drugs virtually. So this saves time, money, and physical resources. So basically what they're doing is instead of making a drug and testing it on people, they make a drug and test it in computers, which is awesome because also you're not going to kill people if you give them a pill that is poison. So an example of this is Paxlovid. There are so many different examples of this. So read this article and then you can see what are some other examples of molecular dynamics related methods in drug discovery. So yeah, it's just a really interesting way treating structural flexibility and intrapical. I can't even pronounce these words. I found the article for you. That's my job. You read it. Okay, I love this one. At home. So this effort allows non-scientists to let scientists use their computer bandwidth. The limited resource here is computer bandwidth to support scientific effects. So SETI at home and folding at home are two efforts like this. So what it actually did is I can say when I'm not using my computer's bandwidth, the processing power can be used by scientists to learn about cancer, to learn about space. This reconciles the drive with the finite resources by finding free, potentially unlimited resources donated by the public. So how do we reconcile the drive? We ask for people to be charitable. We ask for people to share, which is similar to the ISS. We are collaborating. I don't know why it's getting my watermark there. We are collaborating together to share are finite resources. Because if I have $10 and you have $10, we can have $20 by sharing. This deals with finances and this deals with knowledge, which goes to, or I think is my next one. No, it's at the bottom. Crowdsourcing, also dealing with money. Similar to the at-home efforts, scientists have looked at crowdsourcing to find funding. But also, it's not totally effective because somebody did a Kickstarter on making plants that could glow, which sounds awesome, but it totally didn't work. So that's something that you can critique there, is people made a Kickstarter to make glowing plants. But if you go to their updates, end of the road, it's over. It ended in 2017. And the only thing they produced was a plant that smelled good. They actually didn't come up with a glowing light. So the problem with that is they're not held to any standards. Whereas a scientist at a university or a lab would have much higher standards if they were given the money. So that's interesting. Okay, government goodwill and public permission. I love this one. This is one of my classic TOK examples. I use it all the time. It's a really good one. So this could be seen as a finite resource, but you can run out of both. So you can run out of government goodwill and we can run out of patience or permission from the public. So I love examples of the Chinese government not allowing certain DNA experiments, as getting permission for anything in China could be seen as a limited or finite resource. I just got a message from someone on Fiverr who just ordered something from me. I'm not going to say their name, but thanks for your order. And I appreciate your business. This is a stretch, the goodwill idea, but the U.S. did it too. Here's another example. What did the U.S. do it in? I forgot. Let's take a look. Oh yeah, so different scientific research projects shut down by the U.S. government. And I think this is just a list of things that have been shut down. Yeah, 5 ways the government shut down science. So this is, I think, dealing with money in government. But you got to have the government's favor. You got to have the government liking you in order to do science that is funded by the government. Now, I will say, and I say this in a lot of my videos, don't just focus on the U.S. Yes, the U.S. is a country that a lot of you may want to study in next year. Maybe the U.S. Has a lot of stuff in the news. But if you can find an example from your own country, if you live outside of the U.S., first of all, that's more unique and fewer people will have it. And second of all, you'll probably know more about that anyway. So don't just think because the US is all around the news that it's the examples you have to have. In fact, it might be advantageous not to do that. Okay, I really like this one. I just learned how this works. One resource in the sciences is people to do the science. There's a finite number of scientists and potential scientists, so many people have tried different ways to encourage young people to study STEM. This is going to connect to the open source movement in software development, which is in the human sciences. But think about, how do we create more scientists? That's a finite resource. People are human scientists. I thought about talking about teachers. That doesn't really work as well because they're not scientists. But in America, we have a huge shortage of teachers for good reason. Teaching sucks. And so we do a whole bunch of things such as debt forgiveness to create more teachers. So what do we do to get more people to study science? Well, I've got 3 articles for you there. Are you ready for the human sciences? Let's do this. Look at all these examples I've got. Oh, crap. You're so lucky that you subscribed to this channel. Okay, this one is pretty abstract, but it is really, really good. So learn about incremental improvement and how it can be cost-saving but high impact. So there's a lot of examples here. Some of these are for the natural sciences too, but basically think about it this way. Instead of trying to create, let's say, a rocket ship that can go up and down into space in an infinite amount of time. That would be a huge project. Incremental research would say, we're going to try to create a rocket ship that can be recycled 3 times. Or that can be recycled once. And we're going to get to that in my next example. But so instead of trying to make something huge and groundbreaking, we move in increments, which are cheaper, and we'll learn things along the way. Actually, there's going to be 2 examples of this. So learn about incremental improvement. This link right here has a lot of examples. Let's see, what does it say? Why incremental improvement creates epic growth. So you can use this to learn about it, and then you can find other examples. You can just Google, scientific examples of incremental improvement. Totally works. Okay, so one example that I just brought up, and this fits for human sciences and natural sciences, is and that depends on how you want to look at it. Is it a government thing? Is it a science thing? SpaceX saves money by being partially reusable. So part of the Falcon 9 rocket is reusable. That was a huge deal when they first came out. There's this really awkward video of like Elon Musk crying when the rocket lands, and Elon Musk, I won't get started. But making things recyclable is a way to deal with limited resources of money and funding and goodwill. So governments use SpaceX because governments need to save money because they're on a limited budget. So governments save money by using private contractors. So the US government, for example, and remember, talk about your government as well. What do they privatize and what do they nationalize? They explore space despite some budget restraints, which is ridiculous because NASA has like the biggest budget ever, by using private contractors such as Elon Musk and Jeffrey Bezos. Many different government contractors would be employed for this reason. So SpaceX, the reason they're so big is because they are able to do what NASA wants to do for less money. So how do we, reconcile the drive? By outsourcing, by hiring people who are smarter potentially than us. Okay, this one is another TOK Hall of Fame. Algorithms in the judicial system. This can save time. This can save money. This could potentially, the word potentially, make things better. So it's not just saving money, but the idea is that we're saving money by doing things better. So computer algorithms are used in many aspects of the judicial system for things such as calculating the likelihood of someone skipping bail and more. Click this and more because it just gets wild. What you let a computer do, it's just nuts. This is an example of when the use of technology could be seen as bad and when reconciling the two demands may be unethical. Because remember, don't just say, here's how somebody reconciled the demand. Give a commentary on it. Give a discussion. Say this could be seen as bad because of this. This is a great way to show evaluation, which by the way is the mark of a 9 or a 10. Watch this Kathy O'Neill video. Every TOK student should watch this. If your teacher hasn't shown it to you, ask them why, where she talks about algorithms being used in many different ways, and because they're created by private companies, they're not willing to share their knowledge of how they're coming up with some of these. So it's really just crazy. Okay, open source software development. I really like this one. I didn't understand this for a long time. I just thought it was people giving away free technology, but what they're actually doing is businesses are collaborating together and solving each other's bugs. And when I solve a bug for Microsoft, our application becomes better. And then when I have a problem, maybe someone in Microsoft has solved it for me. So again, we're talking about collaboration and sharing, which is coming up a whole lot in this. All right, businesses using AI and hiring. This goes up to what Kathy O'Neill talks about in her video. But many businesses are using AI tools to save time, which is a finite resource, in sorting through resumes and interviewing candidates. This got Amazon in a lot of trouble because the people who programmed the algorithm, they were sexist. So this is a textbook example of how algorithms, of how AI isn't independent, but instead carries our own biases. So to quote Kathy O'Neill, algorithms are just opinions embedded in code. Classic example, totally use this. Okay, the last one is agile versus waterfall, which is really similar to incremental research here. These could actually go hand in hand together. Agile is a way that businesses have moved away from the waterfall method, which is just a big project and we work on it together until it's done. Using an agile framework. Is there going to be an image here? It's kind of confusing. My company uses an agile framework. Basically, it's just taking things step by step by step instead of working at things one-on-one or one by one. This reconciles the demand of saving time and money by producing products in two ways. First, it prevents mistakes by moving at an iterative approach. So we work on this step, make it good, then we work on this step and make it good. Secondly, it saves money by preventing products from being produced that have major potential foundational issues upon release, because you would have found those earlier in the process and you would have released the product, got it tested, and then you would have fixed that before it produces. Sounds like things that video game companies need to do. Hey-o! Okay, so really quickly, if you write your draft and you want to get a hold of me, click here. Also, if you're working on this and you want me to look at your outline, I'm going to launch another gig here on Fiverr that is for outlines, and I will look at your outline and create a video for you. It's going to be awesome. People love it when I create custom videos, so totally get a hold of me on that if you're just getting started. And I hope that TOK sucks a little bit less than it did when I started this video. I'll see you next time.